ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. Enjoy a survey of inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. It's all right here. Leading authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs with stories and messages to support your well-being, let alone your most evocative dreams.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and that's because when I got up this morning, I made sure it was going to be that way. Things might change, things might happen, but I always just revert back to when I put my feet on the ground and decided it was going to be groovy. And you know what? Usually it does turn out to be very groovy. I also like to get myself centered and situated before I take on a major project like broadcasting a live Life Mastery Radio show. Let's just do that. Let's just take a minute, get ourselves centered and situated, taking a couple of deep breaths and just kind of chill and relax. Let's take in a deep breath. And when you take in this deep breath, I want you to think about what you're grateful for. And then as you let that breath out, let it out with a big ah. And let that gratitude just flow right up through your heart center and out of your speaker box and out into the universe. The things that you are grateful for. Let's do that one more time. This time, think about your dreams, visions, and goals. And how easy it would be for you to accomplish them. Just might take a little bit of effort. And again, out with a big ah. Let those dreams, visions, and goals just flow out there with everything you're grateful for. And for sure, I want you to think about allowing the universe, God, Allah, whatever it is that you believe in, the opportunity to make those true for you. There. Now I'm all in the groove, and Jackie's here, and our guest is here. And hi, Smiley. What are you doing? Hi, Jackie. How are you?
I'm good.
You're both smiling. You're both smiling. So I thought, oh, I better introduce Jackie first, and then we'll get to our guest.
I'm good. How are you?
I
know you're groovy. Besides being groovy.
Speak Feed Lead Project happening Hub Central.
Are you asking me what's happening?
I'm asking what's happening. While I share the Zoom feed and you talk.
Got it. Well, fall is almost upon us, and therefore kids are hopefully already back in school or going to be soon. I know it's going to look very different for a lot of kids. However, one thing that's very consistent is that we still offer public speaking and leadership classes to kids and teenagers, college students, and so forth, all through the year. And so we have new fall classes starting in a couple weeks, and it's time to get registered. So if you are trying to figure out how to get your kids really centered on virtual learning, there's no better way to give some oomph to all of their academic classes than to feel more confident speaking and communicating. So that's what we offer for you. Think about that and how important that would be for your kids to get that engagement, social engagement, even if it's virtually. I don't think in the school classes they're going to be engaging, but our classes are very engaging. Students get to give presentations and speeches about subjects that they want to talk about, not something that they're assigned or told to research. It's a great program. Yep.
Or what's important to them, and sure, to discover that and not be so corralled into this is what you should think and this is what you should learn. It's just, exploration of what's important to me. What am I about? Yeah. Hello, I'm here in the world. Yeah, I think it's very cool. And
They are hungry. Right now, the kids are hungry to talk because they've had a summer without a lot of friends, and they've only had people in their family to talk to, which isn't a bad thing. It's just that it can be, it can get old. And so giving them opportunity to talk to new people and feel confident doing that, that's going to be so empowering for them.
yeah, it's very cool. You can go to JackieBaileySpeaks.com or the speakfeedlead.org. Did I get that right? I did.
Just speakfeedlead.org.
Speakfeedlead.org. And you can check it out, find out more, send Jackie an email. It's a cool program, and it's designed just for your kids, and it's designed for your kids to figure out what's important to them and to learn how to convey a message and to really speak their heart and learn about that. So it's pretty cool. Good job, Jackie. She just did a summit, 50 speakers. I was blown away. Totally. That was so cool.
Still recovering.
And you're still recovering. 50 speakers in 10 days. 10 days. That was it. I had to think about that for a minute. Cool. I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net. You can go there and find any links that we talk about, links to our guest. And while you're there, explore it a little bit, because there's a place where you can sign up for our newsletter. Jackie sends out a newsletter once a week. It talks about who's been on the show, who's coming on the show, and a blog post about the most recent show. So it's pretty cool. It's a great way to stay informed about all the happenings on Life Mastery Radio. You can also, while you're there, check out my book, 6 Keys to Life Mastery, Unlocking Life Skills for Successful Living. It's a really cool book. I know you'll love it. Check it out, read it. It's pertinent to what's going on in our world today, I think, and it will help you navigate all of this craziness. We're also going to be talking to somebody today that will, if you read her book, it will help you navigate this craziness, at least get centered and get anchored and really get back in the groove. Right, Jack? Don't you think? That's a good
yeah. Well, it's, sometimes of recent, people believe that the old traditions are no longer valuable, right? That we're in new times with new ideas, and that is all that matters. And it's simply not true. Traditions are there to ground us, to center us, to give us, a foundation. And if we ignore that, then we're going to find ourselves in trouble. So I think Denise's book and her message is so important, because it gives us that foundation that we've maybe forgotten.
Well, so here, I'll admit that before I introduce her. So I think I first interviewed Denise back in August of 2018, and I read her book. We did the interview, and I was fascinated with her thoughts and ideas. And I'll tell you, I think about the 10 Commandments probably once or twice a week, and I really try and connect to them. It's not, and Denise will tell you in her book that it's a practice. You really have to understand them, have a good understanding of them to put them into practice, because when things pop up, you know what to do. And that's the really cool thing. But I've also been fascinated with the 10 Commandments and what others have written about them. And, I think a lot about a metaphysical approach to the 10 Commandments. She really brings it into reality, but I think there's a huge opening to portray the 10 Commandments from a metaphysical level. So I think about that a lot. I think there's a book in me. I really do.
Well, go for it.
And I've talked, and I know you've heard me talk about it before, right? This is like the 100th time you've probably heard me talk about that, but it's something that's on my mind all the time, and we're going to find out it was something that was on Denise's mind all the time. Okay, are you ready for the show? I think we're ready for the show. I got to find my intro. Our guest today is Denise Alexander Pyle, and she is truly blessed and grateful to have had the opportunity to share the message that the power of 10 is the power of one and all. In writing The Power of 10, she gives thanks to her one God and to her all, her family, friends, teachers, masters, guides, and enlightened individuals, and lessons that have inspired her, encouraged, and educated her along the journey. Denise currently lives in Indiana, and she is live with us today on Zoom. Hi, Denise. How are you, my friend?
I am good, Todd. Good to talk to you again and see you and Jackie and
now you're going to
hear
inspire
hopefully
me.
some good thoughts.
You're going to inspire me even more about the Ten Commandments, because I really, truly believe that there are some basic morals, principles, and values that can be instilled in individuals. And you know, there's a reason that our founding fathers put it in courthouses and in all of our major government buildings, and it was a huge part of what they believed and thought. And you know, we've been taking it away. And look at the result. Look at the result. But before we get into that, Denise, I want to hear the story again of how this book came into being. So let's go back in time a little bit and tell us, because you're a lawyer, and this wasn't something that was on your radar.
No, I've been now a lawyer 44 years. I taught Sunday school back in 1989 and 90. I'm 68, so I'm not hiding that. So, but I taught to high schoolers, and it was their confirmation class. I grew up Jewish, and I think I've told you before, I call myself a New Age Jew. New for, you know, more metaphysical approach to things. Way because I do see Jesus as a path and the message, and you know, I go to church with my husband, and I do see, I accept Jesus for many reasons, and I'm still Jewish. You know, they all come together because they're all one and the same. But anyway, so I taught Sunday school, and the assignment was to teach these kids the Ten Commandments, along with Judeo-Christian legal principles that we debated. And so I learned the Ten Commandments, you know, in a way, in a contemporary fashion, and it stuck with me. I started seeing how the Ten Commandments applied in many, many things. And in 2010, my husband was on the farm in Indiana. I was still practicing law in Michigan. And I spent 8 weekends at the computer, and I channeled basically the bones of the book. It sounded like a long sermon. And I did a couple edits, but it sat. And then in 2015, when I retired to the farm and came down here, I had time, and I sat at the computer, and I actually started to edit the book in a fashion that people would actually be able to get something out of it, and it would be in sound bites and, you know, not be a droning read. But the other thing is, I studied Kabbalah in 2000. And for anyone who doesn't know, Kabbalah is the Jewish mystical teachings that basically describe the esoteric foundation of the Jewish religion. And you talked about a metaphysical version of the Ten Commandments. That's what the Kabbalah is. There are 10 spheres on the tree of life, and they do match the Ten Commandments as they go from the top to the bottom. Each commandment is a path, as is each sphere, to how we as humans are to live on earth. So it's just finding a way for you, Todd, to take that message and translate it using these same principles in another, you know, clean, how-to approach. That's your book. It's there. That's what I was doing into a sense, but mine was what I call Kabbalah.
Describe for us then this channeling that you described. So how did that work? You sat down at the computer and this just flowed through you? At the
computer, and it flowed through me. I was the conduit. It was really God speaking through my hands. It just, as I said, the thought of the Ten Commandments was already in me, but what the message of how it applied. It just, you know, everything you ever wanted to know can be found in nature, and everything that's out there is in the universe, whether we pick it up or not.
Right.
And so my brain was a receiver, and it received whatever the message was that needed to get out there. And I sat on it for a long time. But as you can look around, the further and further our society, the messaging is clouded, it's chaotic. We're actually dividing into two parallels. And I think what we're seeing right now is a higher evolution of thought process that actually requires us to reconnect with the foundation of the Ten Commandments. It is the rule for the road. It is our moral, spiritual compass. And we're separating from that world that has lost sight of it. It's kind of the lower plane, the materialism that has us lost. You know, when you interviewed me a couple of years ago, I said, no matter whatever you wanted to believe, you could find it out on the internet. It was all out there. The debunkers were there with the bunkers and, whatever you wanted. It's getting harder to get every message because now they're deciding what you're going to think, and they are shutting down messages. I don't care which side you're on, but you should have the opportunity to discern truth, because real truth comes from nature and God, not from man.
Well, let's back up just a little bit, Denise. So when you sat down to finish the book and edit it, it'd been a couple of years time frame, I can imagine, and I think that's what you said. Was more channeling involved, or you had stewed with these thoughts and ideas and now you just put it together and it flowed out into the book? Because you really didn't do any research, right? This just came from your heart, from your mind, and onto the page.
The original message came from the heart. When I edited it, I did some research to put context in it. When I made some references to biblical references, or to, both Old and New Testament, even to the Quran, and just where these principles are the same in all religions. I did some research. So, there is some footnoting and things to put it together, to tie it so that it had relevance. But, I'm old enough to have enough life experience to add to it and my own wisdom. There's a reason they say honor thy mother and father. It's not because we don't learn if we don't listen to our elders. In most primitive cultures that aren't so primitive, the elders were important. And listen today, nobody wants to hear. They want to cancel the lessons of history, the elders. And, all our parents aren't great. They make mistakes. You're supposed to learn from their mistakes so that you can make your own new mistakes. Let's not repeat the same mistakes.
That reminds me, I heard something really funny the other day, and it went along the lines of, we could solve all of our problems today if we released all the grandmothers onto the world. And I think that's exactly what you're saying.
But the elders,
with wooden spoons.
Our planet, but it's mothers and fathers, because they bring different aspects to our teaching. We are losing the fact that everything has a masculine and feminine, a negative and positive. These are two sides of a whole, and they provide specific counterpoints. They aren't opposites, they're complements. They need to work together. And we don't want to, I look at the light and heavens as the father, and the earth and the mother as the womb. And they work together in tandem. They provide different benefits, but you can't be without both. And we're losing sight of that balance. So it's both are, and there's nurture and protection are two different sides of that aspect. and Earth nurtured us. It provides us the food. It provides us so much. But the spark, the source, the light, the energy that you can't see, that's what we channel to use to take the bounty of Earth and make it something more. We're here to create. We're here to provide beauty. We're here to make this place better than we found it. And that's the gift of life. And something out there wants to stifle that gift of life. And that's the hope that we are trying to reinstill. And that's what the 10 Commandments were given to us, to do, to show us how to be the best version of ourselves. From the first commandment, which is, I am the Lord thy God, which is all of us. We're all part of it. So that's the love and respect we have for one another. Down to the 10th commandment, is, do not covet your neighbor's belongings. It's because we're here to live our own life. We can't live our life and be the best we can be if we're worried about what the next person is doing it. And that isn't just for us individually. That's for nations. That's for everybody. We have to be the best version of ourselves. And that's the guidance. And then, all bells out. Let's go for it, because, life is so special. And there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. You have to do the work. But the work is fun if you find the joy and find, like what Jackie's doing, giving the inspiration for children to speak and learn their truth. That's joyful. You put love in what you're doing and it comes back tenfold.
Oh yeah, totally.
And that's the message of Jesus. And that's why we needed the golden rule. That's why Jesus came. Because what was missing was the love message. It was there, but it wasn't clear. And then, then Jesus said, okay, start over, do over. Here's the way. You want the way to God. Love the Lord with all your soul and all your might. Love yourself and love your neighbor like you love yourself. The love piece is the integral part that ties all the commandments together. That's where we go. We go with love, but with a moral compass and how to get there. It's not that difficult. It's joyful. It's hopeful. And it's where we're going. We just have to get through this period of separation and realize you choose the path of light or choose to get stuck.
Yeah.
Denise, do you feel that today laws, that people look at laws and they think, well, that's going to keep me from being who I want to be or who I was meant to be or who I want, what I want to accomplish. And perhaps they don't understand that these laws or commandments, if you will, are there to give us that compass, to give us that freedom, actually, because when we live the 10 Commandments, we actually have more freedom than when we don't, right? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Absolutely. Well, I'll give you, when you say have no other gods before me, it's second commandment. I look at that as it's about being in service, being in grace. It's recognizing that the things that bring you joy are not the material things. That's what keeps you stuck on that, like a mouse on a wheel, chasing for something that doesn't feel or nurture your soul. When you understand this, the material world is great, but it's not what's going to give you joy long standing. Then you start looking at people. It inspires you to look at things beyond acquisition, but how you relate to other people, how you relate to the world around you, and what really fills your soul, feeds your being, and that's the inspiration. There's the saying, do what you love and the money will follow. It's about teaching you to look for things that really are sustaining, lifeline sustaining. And that's where these commandments, it shows you to look, am I doing this because of the money, or am I doing it because it fills my soul? And it gives you things to measure against. Do not misuse the name of God. To me, that's about responsibility and peace. It's about, I'm responsible for my actions. So when things go wrong, I'm not going to blame this person or there. I'm God. I'm not blaming God. I'm not taking God's name in vain, or I'm not invoking God's name to curse somebody, because words do have power, and that's a whole nother subject. But okay, I'm responsible. So I am going to own what I do. I'm going to pick up myself up, and I'm going to do it again and fix it this time. And, you know, the one thing is, when you don't blame other people, you can create peace. Because the only way you can get to forgiveness within yourself and other people is to take responsibility for what I've done and forgive somebody else for what they've done. That's the root of peace. So the commandments tell us how to get there. They're just really, as I said, the balance between common sense and compassion. But it gives you, if you start understanding how they really apply, when you look at situations in your life. All right, thou shalt not steal. Am I taking something? Well, I'm not going to somebody's house and robbing it. But did I take an idea and not give them credit? Do I not really feel good about something because I know I really plagiarized and I didn't do the work? You start looking at things. Am I giving somebody fair value for what they're doing for me? Is the exchange really fair? You start looking at life and measuring things. And when you measure things on that basis, the exchanges become much more balanced. We all feel we're getting, and we enjoy receiving, because the giving is so joyful. And you have to understand, you do have to receive because other people want to give too. But you're not measuring, because you're just filling up and you're overflowing with what's doing. You have plenty to give to the next person. And that's what you get from these principles. You measure them, and they produce because you're doing it for the right reasons. And that's the moral compass that we need.
And the commandment, you know, you have to think back too. As long as we understand it, they've been around for 5,000 years, but I think there's been forms of them that go even further. And why have they been around for so long? Because they work. And you know, in today's world, I think we're getting away with, you know, Denise, I don't think I've ever noticed so much hatred and judgment, right? People judging other people for what they believe and how they think. And because you don't think like I do, you're totally wrong. And then the hatred comes out, and it's very divisive. And man, we got to get back to that. And that's why I'm so compelled to bring you back on the show and talk about these commandments.
Well, because these are the universal truths. They are the roadmap. And as I've said before, I said, it doesn't matter if you believe God gave them to Moses on Mount Sinai, or whether we're a petri dish for some higher life form on another planet, because we really don't know the structure of the universe. And they said, okay, the humans have evolved enough, time to give them some guidance before they kill each other. And there they came. They brought us these rules. But they're so foundational to everything. They are the basis for how we as humans are to coexist, which is why a government, which is a conglomeration of individuals who are coming together to mostly provide security, right, and some standards to function in a group, they have to live by those same laws. And as I wrote that last week in thinking of your show, I kind of wrote my 10 Commandments and Golden Rule for America.
I'm going to put those on the website, right? Yeah.
Okay, you got it. 1, America is our country, and we are all Americans with equal rights as bestowed by our Creator. We must love and respect our country and each other. Isn't that, I am the Lord your God? I mean, but in a way that, yeah, we all are coming together. We're one nation under God. We are all children of that God, and we all have the same rights. Our founding fathers were all very religious men. And if you read the ministers and writers who wrote when our government was being formed, James Mayhew is one of my favorites, because he warned about extremism on either side when they were creating the government. And when you read his rights, you know, it's exactly what we're dealing with today. And that was in the 1600s, 400,
Right.
you know, 300 plus years ago.
Right. Right.
So why do you think then that there is such a movement to denigrate or destroy that constitutional foundation of our country? I mean, and I'm not blaming one side or the other. I'm just saying that there seems to be a pattern or a movement toward all the old ways being thrown away, including what our founding fathers did, because some of them were not very good people. And so what they've produced also should not be considered good, right?
You can go through every historical period, every ruling country, every country on the planet, and you could do the same thing. I mean, there's been, so it's just pick a period of time, it applies to every period of time. I feel that energetically, there's a change happening universally on our planet. I believe that there is a shift of energy, positive and negative, and that there is a dual parallel universes sort of going on. And right now we're feeling the effects of it. I really feel that we are going to evolve. I think it's like a forest. It's the dark before the storm. When the fire, I say I'm no longer a patriotic light worker, I'm an arsonist. Because in many respects, you are burning down old so that new can burst open and come free. But unfortunately, and we're in a period of that I think we have no idea what's coming. I think that the light is going to shine bright and we're going to see things that we're all going to go, aha, so this is what it's about. We are coming out of the tunnel of birth into something new. And I really think that things that no longer work, things that are dark, and by the way, things that aren't in alignment with the rules for the road, the 10 Commandments, will fall off, because why the 10 Commandments are there is because there's always human nature where there's greed, there's ego, there's the need for power and control. And what's happened is that consolidation on our planet of unbalance to one side is so out of balance that it has to be exposed for the balances to shift. And I think we're gonna see it. It's gonna be difficult, but I have utmost faith that at the end of the day, the light will win. We will shed light on things that, again, we need to forgive and move forward. And, you know, there will be a readjustment. But this is scary because there's not necessarily the forces of people who are behind some of the things that we agree with. And some of them have good intentions on all sides. You have good intentions and negative intentions. We just have to all find the good intentions that all come together and not allow those who wish ill on anybody to succeed. And they say, okay, we give up, you're right, we're gonna take care of each other. And that's, we come together in love and light.
Yeah, you know, I have to tell myself, I have to tell myself that a lot, Denise. So I'll be listening to somebody speaking or trying to grasp their ideas or their principles or what they're thinking. And I sometimes stop myself and say, you gotta know and you have to understand that their intentions are coming from a good place. It's what they think. It's hard for me though to come up with a solution when you obviously watch somebody or hear somebody or read something that somebody has written and it is intentionally misleading.
Well,
is it maybe bearing false witness a little bit?
Bearing false witness, right?
Or how about thou shalt not kill? You know, it's killing dreams, killing ideas, it's killing spirit, it's destroying somebody. To me, when somebody has a business and they put their life into it, and somebody comes out and burns it down. That's killing somebody else's dream. That is, I mean, this is where boundaries set in. You want to destroy your own, fine, but you don't have a right to take that to destroy somebody else. That's where we're all equal under the eyes of God. Therefore, you don't, or the universe, you don't have the right to judge or to take away from somebody else. All you can do is make your life better, work, and find out what you can do. And not everybody, we all have different gifts. We all don't, and you know, if you believe in karma and different lifetimes on this planet and different incarnations, you may be fulfilling a contract here to experience what you chose. That's, you know, so the question is, there may be a reason, there may be a lesson here. We're all here to do our work and do our lessons. The question is, the 10 Commandments as a guideline allows us to do it in our life and look for the love and look for the positive and to work with respect and love for one another.
And to be happy.
That's what we need to do. And and be happy. Yes.
Well, because that's the other thing I'm watching. Denise is, okay, obviously we have this divisiveness going on in our world today. And when you tune into one side, and I don't want to get political at all, but this just seems to me, when you tune into one side, it's dark, disparaging, desperation, right? And then you tune into the other side and it's happy-go-lucky and giddy and everything is, you know, and you have to wonder, and it makes me think, what is going on here? Is that really, you know, the light versus the dark? Or, you know, it's just, I'm thinking out loud, I guess.
You know, when I was in Florida, when COVID hit and things started coming out, I said to my husband, my first reaction was, I feel that we're under attack energetically. Yeah. I didn't forget the virus or what, I just felt that on the planetary, it was an energetic battle going on for our souls. And I think you hear people, both sides, talking about the soul of America, whatever. You can't find the soul of a country if you don't connect to your own soul and your connection to the Creator. And that's a message of hope. That's a message of love. That's not a message of destruction. That's a message of rebuild. And yeah, if you think that, you know, yes, sometimes there are things that need to be cleared out for growth to appear, but when you do it, you got to do it in a controlled way and say, okay, I have to respect somebody else's, you know, what they built. I can't tear down what they built. I can tear down, you know, what I built. I can tear down an idea that doesn't work if I discuss it with other people so that we understand why it didn't work and put it in its proper context. You know, there's no dialogue, you know, that allows us to learn and go forward because, you know, it's this duality. It's just a I mean, and that's all I can say. I feel there's parallel worlds going, and will they come together? I think they will. I think that it will take a major enlightening moment, which I believe is coming. I don't know what it is, but I just feel in my soul that there is going to be something monumental that we all come together and say, wow, I didn't see this coming. And now, you know, it's time for us to put aside our differences, find our love, find our center, go back to the moral compass that we were given that is in every major religion or spiritual movement. It is not, it may be worded differently. And find, because we are moral human beings, we can't be human without morality. That's what makes us not an animal. It's our ability to be accountable for our action And that accountability gives us freedom, as Jackie said, but it also gives us such joy when we're living it.
Well, when there's no rules too, Denise, when there's no rules, as humans, we have this huge ability to rationalize irrational behavior. And I know that's what's going on with a lot of people, because there's no background, there's no backdrop for them to bounce it off of, to say, hey, is this right or wrong? Is this
psychology? That's what's happened with science and psychology today, because now this me movement, I can, it's part of the, as I said, I am is not me. We have a lot of reinforcement of people being able, you create your universe, but you can rationalize it any way you want.
Yeah.
But they took out the moral compass with it.
Yeah, where'd that
they
go?
threw out the baby with the bathwater. I've always said science will prove the existence of God, because it's too, and that's what I believe. Science is going to prove the existence of God.
Well, you
because
can take.
One is the structural. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
You can take, I mean, one is, you can do the chemical compound of something, but you can't measure the energetic, what it does, what you can't see. That's because that's the life force acting through those materials. It's the blood, it's the marriage. And we have to marry and you can't be without being a moral being. It's what we are. And if you take that away from us, then we are living hell on earth. And unfortunately, because then there's no accountability to one another. And, it's a free for all.
To ourselves, to our heart.
Us back to being, I mean, this is what connects us.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to see a world where we don't love and take care of one another, and where how we coexist is not important, but it's just survival of the fittest, and I choose who's fit and who isn't, and you bye-bye. No, we are an integral part of how we relate to the planet and each other. I mean, we have a duty for this planet to preserve it for the next generation. And you know what? It's sad what's going on. I've also never seen such greed before. And that's, and that's so, the biblical, you shared 10% went to charity. If you cut your fields, you left the corners for the gleaners, to come. It was always about making sure there wasn't. If you made money, you had to employ more people. You weren't to hoard, or as I think of a stream. How much do I need to drink before the stream has to go, down to the next level? If I dam it and hoard it for myself, everything down the way is gonna dry up and die.
That's a great point.
It has to flow. Energy has to flow.
And, you were talking about a time when we feel unified or something like that. I can remember after 9/11. There were a few weeks after 9/11 when I felt, seemed like we were all unified in the same feeling of grief and shock and, devastation. And we could I remember flags were flying everywhere and total strangers were smiling at you and talking to you. We felt unified. It seemed that way to me. And yet it quickly, since that time, has become so separate that there's not anything that's bringing us back together. Hopefully another tragedy isn't going to do that. I mean, even COVID didn't really do that, because now there's so many arguing sides about what's right, what's the best direction to take, and how do we take care of our families, but also keep our businesses. And, there's just so much of that going on that COVID has not been the tragedy that would bring us together. So for me, it's got to be a moral foundational compass, which is what the 10 Commandments are. That's the only way I feel like any country can have that unity with all of its members, as diverse as this country is to have that one piece of that moral compass. And even if you don't necessarily believe in a God, believing in something, a power that's higher than you, and understanding that you're not making things happen, that there's an energy force around you. There's the universal laws that are happening around you that are providing you with the success that you're having in one way or another. And so the 10 Commandments aren't just for religious people, but they are, as you've said in your book, they're just a foundational moral stance that we can all live by, that gives us that unity, or we all know we're on the same page, at least in 10 things, right?
Rules for the road for humanity, and that's really it. It doesn't, however you take them. But I'm hoping, if they were given by an extraterrestrial, it'd be nice if you came and visited us right now, just so you can tell us, hey, you're not listening to us. But we'd probably capture, dissect them, and we would never get the message, because, that's the scary part. But, it's just, we need, 9/11 was one event, but it still, as a, it gave us unity in our country, but it had its other side effects. It's what can we, I don't know what it is, other than how do we break out in love? There's so many opportunities every day being presented for that moment to occur. Every day I see in the news a tragedy that I want to say, okay, why aren't we coming together for this little boy, or for the children? To me, I'm saying at my age, it's all about the children. It's the next generation. It's what you're doing, Jackie, with children. We need to come together and say, what is the world we want our children to inherit? And how are we protecting them? These are the messages our children need to understand, because right now our children are getting a very different message, because they haven't been raised like our generation was, with more of the moral codes being taught. So where is the children getting a compass to guide by? And that's why the 10 Commandments are so important. You want to write it spirit metaphysically, but write it for kids.
I've thought about that totally. I mean, you know what, Denise, here's something else, and this might be a rough thought, but I've also thought, okay, when I was a kid and understanding the Bible, going to Sunday school, I used to have these thoughts, really. Gosh, we're drilling for oil where hell is supposed to be, and we're shooting rockets up into where heaven is supposed to be. How does this work? So, I've always carried with me this thought that, okay, there's some great teaching stories in the Bible, so there's some great moral stories. It's probably one of the best psychology books ever created, on top of the best-selling book ever, if you really look at some of the basics behind it. But Denise, what are your thoughts? Does it need to be updated? People read that and think, that is so old school. I can't comprehend it. I can't get into it. Sometimes I think about that. Is that bad?
No, that's what I try to do in my book. I try to give them modern day applications and give them modern day situations as to why we're off track, because we didn't follow the principle and how it applied. So yes, teaching them it in today's world is very important, because at the end of you have to have a context in which to place it, and that's where it lost relevancy. You have to make the lessons, they're very simple. They're don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat. But what's interesting? I'm a lawyer, and I've watched laws over the last 30 years be rewritten from what they were when I went to law school, that legalizes stealing and cheating and lying for the benefit of somebody to the expense of somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's what's frightening to me, because the corruption of our legal system is why people are frustrated and feel the way they feel. And that is something that, people don't speak out, or they don't, it's not juicy, it's not exciting, it's not entertaining. So nobody cares that, a bunch of people went somewhere and were given some laws that were written for them across the board. I don't care what. And they passed them. And now I am a lawyer. I'm representing this wonderful man or woman in a divorce case. And all of a sudden, where did this law come from that now the judge can't do something that's fair to rectify a situation? Well, what happened is you had some people that were upset in their own lives, so they got the legislature to pass laws so that how they felt victimized, even though they may have been the victim, is now passed on everybody else. Yeah. And this is what's actually happening in our legal system.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh my goodness,
no
lady.
moral compass.
Yeah, and that's what the guiding principle needs to be. Oh my goodness, ladies, we only have about 2 minutes left. Denise, thank you so much for coming back. I just love our discussions. It gets my brain just cranking. There's her book, Power of 10. It's all about the 10 Commandments. It is well written, and you will just enjoy it, and it will give you some great, it will instill, and I don't want to say, it will put you back with a moral compass. It's just, the rules of the road are in that book. There's the instruction set for you to live a masterful life. Thanks, Denise. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. I love being with you guys. You inspire me.
Well, we'll just have to have you back again, I guess. We'll just do that here down further in the road. Jackie, any takeaways? Anything that you gained?
Well, I love what Denise is doing. I'm so glad she listened to that inspiration and she started working on it, because it's really not about religion. It's really about humanity. And so the 10 Commandments is something that we all need to understand and live by every day. So thank you, Denise, so much for your work.
I totally agree. We just have to get it to the young people, Jackie. How are we going to do that?
I'm trying.
That's about all we have time for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please tell your friends about it. We're live on Zoom, on Facebook every week. We have some great guests. Sign up for the newsletter. And we are out of time. Lastly, please make it a great day, because it is all about choice. And you can choose to check out Life Mastery Radio and Denise's book, The Power of 10. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.